This just in, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, says he was accidentally texted war plans.
Yeah, we literally just received this piece from The Atlantic, and in it, Goldberg writes, U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling.
So apparently, and I'm going to let it play through. But apparently, Jeff Goldberg is a reporter for The Atlantic, and he was included on an app messaging system like WhatsApp, but it's called another name. And in that app, people within Trump's administration, not little minglings or little like assistants and interns. No, you're going to be surprised. It's some of the top people, to include the vice president, that was on these apps chatting with each other about national security information. Let it play.
Goldberg was added to a Signal chat with some of the most senior national security members of the Trump administration. Signal is a messaging app that is encrypted, probably why these officials thought that they could have a discreet conversation on there. But on it, in this chat that Goldberg was a witness to, they talk about the planning for the recent bombing of the Houthis that started on March 15th. They talk about current intelligence assessments. There's a full-on debate among these officials about whether they should carry out this bombing of the Houthis. And these are conversations that could be in violation of the Espionage Act. Now, this group was started, it looks like, by the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who called it the Houthi PC Small Group. PC refers to Principals Committee. The principals in the administration are the senior-most officials. And among that group of senior officials, you have the National Security Advisor, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense and of State, the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA Director, Steve Witkoff, the Special Envoy, the Chief of Staff to President Trump, and the list goes on. There are 18 of them.
Go back and just listen to those names. And here are the faces with those names or titles. You got the NSA Director, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the Director of National Intelligence. Then you had the Special Envoy guy and the Chief of Staff. You got all these people in high importance messaging each other on what's supposed to be a secure app called Signal. Now, the only problem with this is they added a reporter to the messaging app. So he thought that this was all a joke. He didn't think it was serious until, like they said, until the bomb started falling. He said, wait a minute, I got text messages from these people putting me in the conversation. And they talk about national security. But also, I want you to look at this picture again. What don't you see? Now, MAGA go say, well, wait a minute. You got some women in there. You got a Cuban in there. But you don't see no other quote-unquote color, do you? What you mainly see is white men. And I guarantee you Marco Rubio probably considered himself a white man. And look, that's no shade to white men. I'm not denigrating white men. I'm saying this is what MAGA is trying to do. They're trying to encapsulate this country, this government, this world for only white men at the exclusion of everybody else. And look at what's happening. These particular white men are a bunch of idiots. Let's keep going with the story.
So there's this debate over whether the U.S. should go through with this bombing of the Houthis. Vice President Vance is actually arguing against it, saying that just 3% of trade goes through the Red Sea, which is where the ships have been targeted by the Houthis. Ratcliffe, the CIA director, he chimes in with current intelligence assessments that may be related to intelligence operations that are ongoing. Goldberg does not print that because, of course, that, among so many other details in this, are so highly classified. Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, he chimes in saying that waiting a few weeks or a month wouldn't fundamentally change the calculus. And he notes, interestingly, that if this leaks, we look indecisive. Of course, it would eventually leak. Now,
and then you got old drunk Pete Hegseth, who is telling everybody the truth. Wait a minute, guys, we got to make bold, decisive decisions, because if we don't, and this comes out, because this may be part of national records at one point, we're going to look indecisive. Well, guess what, you drunk bastard? It leaked. And y'all look stupid. And you violated a lot of national security protocols by messaging each other on a goddamn app. But it gets better.
keep in mind, as they're having this discussion, Goldberg is watching all of this unfold, and he doesn't know, again, whether it's real, but he would quickly learn that it was. On the morning of March 15th, which is the day the bombings began, Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, posted a team update at 11:44 in the morning saying the bombings were about to start 2 hours later. And in that message to this large group, again, including Goldberg, he posted operational details about these strikes that were about to happen, information about targets, about weapons, and the attack sequencing. 2 hours later, the strikes started. Goldberg looked up on Twitter and he started to see explosions happening in Yemen, and that's when he knew it was true. And that's when these officials essentially started celebrating. You have John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, saying, "A good start." Mike Waltz, this national security advisor, responds with several emojis, as does Steve Witkoff, with 2 hands praying, a flexed bicep, and 2 American flags. So everyone.
And they're out here flexing muscles and doing emojis as if they're the ones pushing the buttons, as if they're the ones actually out there fighting in Yemen. They're celebrating and high-fiving like they're the ones that landed the plane on the moon. All the while, the reporter is on this app watching them make these discussions. These are your DEI hires, ladies and gentlemen. MAGA. Explain this. Explain how you can have the best people do something as stupid as this. Nobody knew Barack Obama was going into Pakistan to get Osama bin Laden until what happened? Until they actually got him. Hell, we didn't even know that George W. Bush was still looking for him, and we also didn't know that George W. Bush gave Obama some of the plans to say, hey man, we think he may be over in this region here. We didn't know the shit until it actually happened. These fools are out here messaging reporters on mobile devices, and they don't know it. That reporter maintained integrity by not reporting that day or not divulging security and sensitive information, which he could have because it was all reported. He even had discretion, more discretion than they had when it came to national security. He could have reported it all, but he didn't. But these fools are giving it to him. Who put his name, who put his number in the app? They say they're going to investigate, but they're not going to investigate. They're not going to do it because the blame is going to come on them. I got nothing. I want to hear from MAGA. I want to hear MAGA explain why these people are so stupid. I want to know, what do you think? Stupid mother.